I've been wanting to make this video for quite a while. And basically, it simply means corporations have ruined our way of life. And you'll see on my table quite a few products. Some you cannot even buy anymore. And I'll even talk about some products that really haven't changed. For example, tea bags used to be a thing that people liked, but they don't know what they put in the actual bag. There's all kinds of chemicals. Some people say it can give you cancer. So a lot of people are switching over to these tea diffusers, which is what I'm doing. Now, let me start out by saying some companies' quality hasn't changed. For example, Leatherman, cast iron frying pans, Benchmade, though it's expensive, Bark River knives, you'll see one there. Western Mountaineering sleeping bag, which I own one, quite expensive. They can run you over $1,000. And DD hammocks, which is a tarp system, which I have one coming in tomorrow. But a lot of equipment has, and not just equipment, restaurants themselves. A lot of equipment has come to complete garbage. You know, Coleman, for example, used to be a number one brand for camping when I was a kid. If it wasn't Coleman, my dad did not buy it. And that's all there was to it. This stove here's a Coleman. It's well over 15 years old. It's a dual fuel, is what it is. There's a Primus lantern in a plastic case. I own, which is kind of sad, I own a lot of antique equipment from camping because I turned 62 today. And you'll find when you get older yourself, the same thing's going to happen too, except what you're going to have on your table if you do a video like this will be plastic. And that's what's going to happen. Now, in my life, things have changed in the way of like Kentucky Fried Chicken, for example. KFC 30 years ago, when we went to visit my mother, she loved KFC. You always showed up with a bucket of chicken with my mother, and she'd just have a big smile. She loved KFC. It was her favorite. Well, over the years, something happened. Corporations got a hold of KFC. They changed the recipe. They made it cheaper. The chicken got smaller. So many things changed. And at the time when this was going on, I did not realize this happened. I thought it was the one KFC place that did something wrong. So when I was in the USA at that time, I went to like 12 different KFCs in different states, trying to search out that great tasting chicken I used to have when I was younger. I never found it. Because at the time, I didn't realize corporations had gotten a hold of it and they made everything cheaper, less ingredients. It's just garbage, is what it is. And it's extremely expensive. I mean, chicken is one of the cheapest meats going. But I really didn't care about the price. I really wanted that old tasting KFC taste. It no longer exists. It's gone because of corporations. They destroyed it. I haven't ate at KFC now in well over 15 years, maybe longer. Because it's just an outrageous amount of money, but at the same time, it doesn't taste like the old KFC. Now, you take tools, for example, there was Craftsman at one time that was sold at Sears, and Craftsman was known to be the best of the best. And again, another item my dad would only buy. His toolbox was filled with it. I got most of his tools now because he passed away. I am loaded with Craftsman. And people actually search for them on eBay and other places if you know anything about tools. So something is happening with our society. Now, when you get into products like Leatherman or Bark River, or some of these items, they get pretty expensive. So if you want quality, you got to spend the money. If you want the cheap China knockoffs, then you get them for $20, $30. Now, in a way, in general, Americans try to save money, and they say, well, I don't make very much money. I work at McDonald's, or I don't make. This is all bullshit. I mean, there are things I've wanted in my life, and some of them are on the wall. My boat, for example, my compound boat cost me well over $3,500. I mean, I didn't have the money at the time to buy the whole setup for the boat. I bought the boat, and then a couple months later, I bought the site, and a couple months later, I bought something else, and slowly pieced my boat together. And the next thing you know, it cost that much money. The camping equipment, the bike, backpacking equipment I carry, I mean, I'm probably carrying close to $8,000 on my back, and I'm not bragging, but and I didn't know this until I actually ran a program that measured my weight on my backpack. And it actually, you type in the total, what you paid for an item, and I was quite surprised at how much I'd spent over the years. But when you buy something a little here, a little there, you're not spending that much money. For example, I have a new camping pad coming in tomorrow. I'll do a little review on it. You can check it out. It cost me around $200. And I already own like 5 or 6 camping pads. But this particular camping pad is 4 inches thick compared to 3, so it's going to be more comfortable. It has where the outside baffles are a little higher, so it kind of keeps you in the middle of the mat. And it's made by the company Nemo. Now, they sell tons of sleeping pads on Amazon. And if you go and look at their warranty levels, they'll say, oh, they're warranted for 15 days. They know it's made to break. You might get 1 or 2 sleeps on it, and then you're done. You wasted your money. They're $50. You start buying that unit 3 or 4 times, you might as well have bought the Nemo or some other, like a Thermarest or something that's made with a good warranty. See, I know Nemo's good because I had a Nemo break on me. I literally was laying on my pad in my tent, and I had my knife, which was this Bark River, sitting on my chest when I was laying on my back. It slid off my chest, and it hit the pad and poked a hole right through it and just totally wrecked it. It was my fault. I contacted the company, and they sent me a brand new one. And I was like, wow, that's an amazing, amazing warranty. And that is very impressive. I look for that in companies. At one time, I used to look to Coleman for buying something, but now it's, as people say, it's a Chinese knockoff. They've gone across the sea, and they're now not making quality. They don't test their products. It's garbage. If you complain loud enough, they'll just send you a new one that'll break and do the same thing. You take, for example, I have this one thing I loved, which was a little thing that would air up my air mattresses. And after using it 6 or 7 times, it broke. I contacted the company, and they wanted me to jump through hoops before they'd send me a new one. Now, that really confused me because they sent out thousands of those to people on YouTube for free for them to do reviews. And I'm like, so you're pushing the marketing, but you're not taking care of the customer. You knew that thing was going to break after 4 or 5 uses. And you did everything in your power so you don't have to refund them. Well, I never bought another one. I mean, the company melted into my brain, and I don't care if they made something that was super good now. I would not buy from them, ever. They destroyed themselves with making an inferior product. At one time, whether it's restaurants or camping equipment or tools, it doesn't matter what it is. If they don't start off their company correctly to where it's being made well, then things just ain't what it used to be. Doc Martens were a big thing with boots back in my day. They were made very well. I mean, they went out big with the teenagers, but they're now not made as well. I mean, I can go on and on about products since I'm 62 years old on my past history and what I've seen. It is crazy what you have to do nowadays to just eat healthy. Okay, just to stay away from carbs, just to find decent things to eat. I mean, the grocery store becomes a job. At one time, something that used to take, maybe an hour now turns into a 4-hour shopping day just to go for groceries. If I'm going to try a new product, I have to read the back of it. And even if it's an old product, I still have to triple check the back in case they change the ingredients, because they do that too. There really isn't too many rules and stipulations when it comes to USA food. Yet you go to other countries like UK or Australia, and you know, they're protecting their people better on what ingredients they can put. They have banned a lot of our products we sell here over there because they're just dangerous. They're poison. And that's all there is to it. So it's gotten to the point where when you buy something with your hard-earned money, it's becoming a job. You take, for example, if you wear eyeglasses, if you go and search out eyeglasses and find out what's going on with that, you're going to shake your head. And there's literally one company, I think they're in Germany, I could be wrong, but they're buying up every eyeglass company out there. The only one you can get eyeglasses off of is them and some other company. Literally, they're controlling the market. And that is the reason they can put $150, a $300 price tag on a pair of glasses when they're not even worth that. Okay, we have machines, we have amazing stuff now for creating products at an amazing rate. And they're charging crazy amount of money for glasses because they're making billions. And it's become a corporation scam. And that's going on a lot. It really is. There is no reason for corporations to do this, but it seems like when a corporation takes over something, and I'm not saying all, but it seems like when they take over something, they just ruin it, like KFC, like Coleman, like Craftsman. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like we're going back instead of forward. And that really, really gets on my nerves. Like, for example, I bought a DD hammock that's coming in, and it's a 4x4, 13 feet by 13 feet. And the research I had to do before buying that, I have an AquaQuest tarp. It runs about 5 pounds. Now, the DD hammock is about 2.5 pounds. So I'm going to pull 2.5 pounds out of my backpack right away. But I'm sure it's not made as well. And that comes into the play too. When you're carrying weight on your back, the lighter you go, the quality starts to fall down, is what it does. And that you're always balancing that when you're backpacking. And that's probably why I'm so aware of it now, because of all the years of purchasing and using things for backpacking. So you become more and more aware of it. Things were a much simpler time back when my dad was around. I mean, I'm sure there was stuff from China, but it wasn't like it is now. Companies stood by their name. They meant something. When you bought a cooler from Coleman, I mean, the bloody thing lasted two and three generations. They don't want that anymore. Not whatsoever. Some stuff you literally have to go to eBay and look for some vintage stuff and to get yourself quality. Now, you may pay more money, but in the end, I've had that Coleman stove for over 20 years. This lantern was my dad's lantern, and this thing is well over 50 years old. So, and then when I pass, my sons will get my stuff, and hopefully they'll use it and take care of it, because they all love camping too. But the sad part is this stuff is becoming less and less and harder to find. And you really have to open your eyes to what corporation is doing. They're selling to you younger generation. You don't know what KFC used to taste like and how good it was. The younger generation doesn't know what Craftsman is. You'd walk into Sears and you drop off a socket, they give you a brand new one. I remember doing that all the time with my dad. And then when businesses closed and went bankrupt, like Simpson Sears and Consumers, and I'm just shaking my head going, why did this happen? Horrible CEOs, bad managers, and it's just horrible. Back in the day, there was a store called Consumers, and it was a catalog store. You never got to walk through the store. You walked in the front doors, you showed them in the catalog, you filled out a little card, and they'd go in the back, pull it off the shelf, and bring it out. You'd open the box and examine it, say, okay, I like that, I'll take that. If you think about it, Consumers was the internet how many years ago? Before they closed, 30, 40 years ago? And yet, we're buying products sight unseen now by a simple review video on YouTube, where Consumers was doing that years ago. I couldn't believe it when that closed down. But be aware of why you're paying a lot of money for something. Is it an American company? Like Leatherman, for example, they'll say the Arc that you see sitting there is a very expensive Leatherman. It is. But you also have to understand the research, the development, the engineers that went into that tool is unbelievable. And they do put it through testing. There is a big difference between that and a $30 tool. And people say, well, it's $30. I could buy 4 if it breaks. Why do you want to? It's not good for the environment. What good is it if you buy some cheap $30 China knockoff, you leave it to your son, and, a couple weeks later it breaks on him? It's not like he's going to get another one. With a Bark River knife or an Etsy or something like that, they'll have it for the next 5 generations. And that actually means something to me. So when you're considering on buying things and you're looking at things, ask yourself, why is it that much money? Is it USA made? Do you want to pay multiple times, or do you want to pay one time? That is a big ordeal. At any rate, I'll catch you guys on the next one.